All worlds begin with Demon Slayer. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 576, The Unhappiness Between Them. After seeing Tokito Muchiro's rude behavior towards the child, Tanjiro was extremely distrustful of Tokito Muchiro and naturally did not want Tokito Muchiro to touch Nezuko. Tokito Muchiro looked at his hand in a daze, and it seemed that he did not react to Tanjiro's hostile attack just now. And at the moment, when Tanjiro drew his sword against Tokito Muchiro, Tanjiro snatched the little boy from Tokito Muchiro's hand. Of course, this was not a hard snatch. Tanjiro used the trick of escaping from the shell, and Tokito Muchiro was only holding the boy's coat in his hand. "Are you okay?" Tanjiro asked the little boy with concern. The little boy drove Tanjiro away, looking very unwilling to contact Tanjiro. After the little boy was snatched away by Tanjiro, Tokito Muchiro did not take any further action, as if he had no real malice towards the little boy. "Are you still dizzy? It's very dangerous. He is a pillar. The attack just now might cause a concussion." Tanjiro continued to ask the little boy with concern. "Go away. I won't give the key to anyone. Even if I'm tortured, I won't give it to anyone. That thing is going to break soon." The little boy pushed Tanjiro away and seemed to be always alert to Tanjiro. "If it breaks, just make another one. How many people will die while you're nagging like this? Your behavior not only prevents me from saving people, but also endangers my life. I think you swordsmiths have a comfortable life. Apart from forging weapons, you're good for nothing and have no idea of the dangers outside. One last time, give me the key. I need it." After Tokito Muchiro finished speaking, he stretched out his hand to the little boy, as if to make him hand over the key obediently. Tanjiro suddenly slapped the hand that Tokito Muchiro stretched out, and then retorted, "Swordsmithing is also a very important job. Swordsmiths are people with different strengths from swordsmen. If they hadn't forged the Nichiren swords that can kill demons for us, we wouldn't be able to do anything, and we wouldn't be able to kill those demons. Swordsmen and swordsmiths are two inseparable existences. Everyone is also fighting demons, but the swordsmith's fighting method is different from ours. In order to make our Nichiren swords sharper and more useful, the swordsmith is also constantly honing his swordsmithing skills. The Nichiren swords forged for us by the swordsmith are partners who fight side by side with me, and they are also there to protect our lives, so the swordsmith is not useless." Faced with Tanjiro's excuses for the swordsmith, Tokito Muchiro didn't care at all. "I don't have time to accompany you. Talking nonsense here." After saying this, Tokito Muchiro swung a knife at Tanjiro's neck. This time, Tokito Muchiro's force was slightly heavier. Tanjiro soon fell to the ground again, but this time he didn't feel pain, but fainted. At the moment, when his vision became blurred, Tanjiro seemed to see Tetsuzuka standing under a tree behind Tokito Muchiro. The next second Tanjiro's eyes went black, and he fainted completely. "This guy's eyelids are moving. I'm leaving first." With the familiar voice coming from his ears, Tanjiro, whose consciousness was gradually recovering, tried hard to wake up quickly. Chapter 577, Mechanical Doll. Then Tanjiro sat up and opened his eyes. "You're awake." The little boy was delighted to see Tanjiro wake up. He didn't know if it was because of Tetsuzuka or because of what Tanjiro had said to the swordsmith. The little boy seemed to have lost his vigilance against Tanjiro. "Are you okay? Don't sit up suddenly. It's not good for your brain." The little boy asked Tanjiro again. But Tanjiro didn't care about it. He asked the little boy, "Did Mr. Tetsuzuka come here just now? I think I heard his voice." "No. Mr. Tetsuzuka has been hiding from the people in the village. How could he appear in front of you and me?" the little boy said with a guilty conscience, but he still pretended to be calm. "Is it my illusion? Do I want to see Mr. Tetsuzuka too much?" Tanjiro was also a little confused. There was no smell of Tetsuzuka nearby, so Tanjiro really couldn't tell whether it was an illusion or not. So, Tanjiro stopped pursuing the matter and asked about Tokito Muchiro. "Where is the Kasumi Joe? I gave him the key and he left." The little boy answered truthfully. Did you give it to him? That's probably the only way he can act. Although I don't know what the key is for, it's obviously very important to you. But I'm really sorry that I couldn't help you. Tanjiro apologized to the little boy. Don't blame yourself too much. I'm very touched that you just spoke for me and all the swordsmiths. Thank you very much for your recognition and respect for the swordsmiths. The little boy didn't expect Tanjiro to blame himself for this, so he immediately bowed to him and said. After that, Tanjiro and the little boy got to know each other, and Tanjiro knew that everyone in the village called him Kotetsu. The key that Tokito Muchiro took away was the start key of mechanical doll made by Kotetsu's ancestors. From what Kotetsu said, the mechanical doll seemed to be a very powerful thing. As long as you can defeat the doll, it will be a huge improvement in your strength. Tanjiro did not doubt the authenticity too much. After all, even Tokito Muchiro wanted to train with it, which was enough to show that this mechanical doll was really powerful. Could it be that the secret weapon that Kanroji Mitsuri said to become stronger was this mechanical doll? Although this mechanical doll is powerful, it is also because it has been in disrepair for many years, so it cannot withstand high intensity use. This is why Zaratetsu is unwilling to give the key to Tokito Muchiro. It is also because the mechanical doll skills have been passed down for hundreds of years, and there have been many faults, so Zaratetsu has no ability to repair the mechanical doll, which also caused the mechanical doll to become the only legacy left by Zaratetsu's ancestors. And combat training with the mechanical doll will inevitably damage the mechanical doll. Once the mechanical doll is damaged, it means that the mechanical doll is completely scrapped. Zaratetsu has no ability to repair it, so there is no need to make another one. In order to let Tanjiro see the mechanical doll, Zaratetsu took Tanjiro to find the place where Tokito Muchiro and the mechanical doll fought. Tanjiro and Kotetsu stood in the distance, watching Tomochiro in a fierce battle with the mechanical puppet. The aura he exuded during the battle was even more powerful than the oppression given to him by Daki. When Tanjiro saw the fighting style of the mechanical puppet, he actually had a sense of deja vu deep in his heart. Chapter 578 Descendants of the Sun's Breathing. Although half of the face of the mechanism has been damaged, revealing the parts inside, this mechanical doll is very realistic, as if it was restored according to the original location of the famous ghost hunter. Tanjiro seemed to have seen this person somewhere. Just as Tanjiro was observing, Tanjiro found that the mechanical doll had the same flower card on its ear as himself. The flower card on Tanjiro's ear was passed down to him by his father. Like the god of fire Kagura, it was something that Tanjiro would inherit from generation to generation. Just when Tanjiro was surprised, Tanjiro remembered where he had seen the face of the mechanical doll. It was in a dream, especially in his sleep, after using the god of fire Kagura. This man would appear in his dream. Could this person be his ancestor? Or did he create the god of fire Kagura and then passed it on to his ancestor by chance? Tanjiro couldn't help but become more and more curious about the identity of the original body of this mechanical doll. It can be said that, even if the original body of this mechanical doll is not Tanjiro's ancestor, it is very likely that it has a great connection with Tanjiro's family. However, the most special thing about the mechanical puppet is the 6 arms that were specially made. Obviously, the original mechanical puppet cannot have 6 arms under normal circumstances. Look at that mechanical puppet, it's Uchi-Zero style. Zaratetsu pointed at the mechanical puppet with 6 arms and said to Tanjiro, "Zaratetsu, why does that mechanical puppet have 6 arms?" Tanjiro couldn't help but ask. My father said that the prototype of that mechanical puppet is a real swordsman from the Demon Slayer Corps. It's impossible to reproduce the swordsman's attack movements without 6 arms. Despite this, the mechanical puppet still can't reach the real level of that swordsman. Hearing Zaratetsu say that the mechanical puppet is based on a real person, Tanjiro became even more excited and then asked, "Who is that swordsman? Where is he now?" This mechanical puppet is a product of the Warring States period, so I don't know who the swordsman is. Zaratetsu replied. Warring States. Tanjiro was shocked and then continued, "Isn't that more than 300 years ago? Then wouldn't this swordsman also be from more than 300 years ago? In this case, this person should have died a long time ago, right?" Tanjiro did not expect that the man who appeared in his dream would actually be from the Warring States period, but after careful calculation, the family has not been passing down the fire god Kagura for a long time, probably more than 300 years. Tanjiro thought he could see the real body of this mechanical puppet in person, but it is obviously impossible to see it in this case. If he could see it, he would definitely be able to unlock the secrets and mysteries of the fire god Kagura. Tokito-kun is so powerful, and the mechanical puppet is so powerful too. He can actually compete with the pillars of the Demon Slayer core. Looking at the stone and the mechanical puppet, who were evenly matched in the battle, Tanjiro couldn't help but sigh. Hearing this, Kotetsu couldn't help but boast, if this puppet hadn't been in disrepair for a long time, even the pillars would have difficulty being his opponent. At this time, a crow standing at the feet of Tanjiro and Kotetsu boasted about Tokito Muchiro. Of course, Muchiro is the descendant of a user of sun breathing. That child is a genius, and is not on the same level as you guys. Chapter 579, the relationship between Tanjiro and Yoriichi Tsugakoku. And that mechanical puppet was made, based on the prototype of Muchiro's ancestor, Tsugakuni Yoriichi. Tsugakuni Yoriichi is the creator of sun breathing. He was also the genius of the Demon Slayer core at that time. Hearing this, Tanjiro and Kotetsu were attracted by the Sabigia under their feet, and saw the crow under their feet. Although the crow said that Tokito Muchiro was a genius, Tanjiro did not have much admiration for Tokito Muchiro in his mind, because Tanjiro already had an object of admiration in his heart, that is Bai Yu. Then, Tanjiro asked, "You are Tokito's crow?" "Yes, I'm Muchiro's crow, and the most talented one among all the crows." Muchiro's crow couldn't help but brag to himself. Hearing this, Tanjiro didn't think it was the most talented crow, but the most narcissistic crow. However, Tanji is not interested in this. Tanjiro is interested in the fact that Tokito Muchiro also has a connection with the prototype of this mechanical doll. Is there any connection between him and Tokito Muchiro? However, no one in the Demon Slayer core can use the origin breath of the sun breathing. The sun breathing seems to have been lost after the creator lost contact. Therefore, Tokito Muchiro, as a descendant of Yoriichi Tsugakuni, does not seem to have inherited the sun breathing. Why is this? If Kagura of the god of fire is really inherited from the creator of the sun breathing, then what is the relationship between Kagura of the god of fire and the sun breathing? Assuming that Kagura of the god of fire is the sun breathing, why did Yoriichi Tsugakuni pass the breath to outsiders? Why not let people of the same clan inherit it? At this time, Tanjiro's thoughts were suddenly opened, and various speculations followed. Tsugakuni, Tokito, these are obviously two different surnames, and what caused the surname change? Then why didn't Tokito use the sun breathing? Tanjiro couldn't help but ask the crow. The crow seemed to be in pain, flew up all of a sudden, pounced on Tanjiro, bit Tanjiro's face, and said angrily, "Shut up, be careful or I'll peck your eyeballs out." I'm just curious, because I saw Senior Tsugakuni Yoriichi in my dream. The flower note in my ear seems to be from him. Tanjiro said immediately. Hearing this, the crow immediately loosened its mouth, and then stood on Tanjiro's shoulder, angrily said, "Are you a fool? Tsugakuni Yoriichi is a swordsman from the Warring States period. How old are you?" The crow didn't seem to know what dreaming meant. Anyway, it just felt that Tanjiro was bragging. Even if he had seen him in a dream, the dreamer must know what this person looks like, otherwise the subconscious mind of the brain would not be able to construct this person. Tanjiro must have never seen Tsugakuni Yoriichi. After all, the two were not from the same era, and there was no possibility of meeting, so this might be another more mysterious reason why Tanjiro saw Tsugakuni Yoriichi in his dream. When Zaitetsu heard this, he looked at the flower note on Tanjiro's earlobe. After a careful look, Zaitetsu was sure that the flower note on Tanjiro's ear was exactly the same as the one on the mechanical doll. However, Zaitetsu was not sure that Tanjiro's flower note was from Yoriichi Tsugakuni. But if what Tanjiro said was true, then Tanjiro might have a close relationship with Yoriichi Tsugakuni. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 580 Memory Inheritance. Tanjiro also felt that his words were not rigorous enough, so he added, I inherited this flower card from my father, and I often dreamed of this man recently. He also carried the same flower card in my dream, so I think the flower card was passed down from him. Hearing this, although Zaratetsu didn't know what the relationship was between Tanjiro and the original body of the mechanical doll, he had some understanding of Tanjiro's phenomenon, and then said, this should be memory inheritance. Maybe you inherited the memory of your ancestors, and your ancestors happened to have seen the original body of the mechanical doll. So you are dreaming about the scenes your ancestors have seen. We often say this in the swordsmith village. What is inherited is not only the appearance, but also the memory. When the swordsmith forges the sword for the first time, it will evoke the scene of his ancestors forging the sword. Even if he has never experienced this, he feels like he has experienced it personally. This is called memory inheritance. Zaratetsu said a lot, which made Tanjiro feel that what Zaratetsu said seemed to make sense. Maybe what he saw in his dream was the memory of his ancestors. Moreover, his father and Tsugakuni Yoriichi do not look alike, so it should be certain that the Kamado family has no direct blood relationship with Tsugakuni Yoriichi. Perhaps the ancestors helped Tsugakuni Yoriichi like those Fuji families, but because the family was not prosperous enough, it did not have the ability to develop into a Fuji family in the end. This flower note may be a gift of thanks. As for the fire god Kageura breathing and the sun breathing, perhaps there is some relationship between the two. However, Tanjiro does not think that the fire god Kageura is the sun breathing, otherwise Rengoku Kageura has been guiding Tanjiro for so long, it is impossible for him not to see it at all. Moreover, the moves of the fire god Kageura are all developed from the dance moves of the Kageura dance, and some are used with the fire god Kageura breathing as a template, based on the water breathing moves. If Tokito Muchiro uses the sun breathing, perhaps he can be discussed. While Tanjiro was talking to Kotetsu and Tokito Muchiro's crow, the mechanical puppet suddenly became stiff, and Tokito Muchiro's attack just cut off the defensive armor on the chest of the mechanical puppet, shattering the armor in an instant, and the mechanical puppet fell to the ground. Then, Tokito Muchiro stopped moving, and then murmured, is it broken? We can't train like this. Kotetsu saw the mechanical puppet fall to the ground, which meant that the mechanical puppet might have been damaged. Kotetsu, who couldn't accept it for a while, suddenly turned around and ran out. Tanjiro saw this situation and couldn't help but shout Kotetsu's name and chased after him. Because Tanjiro has a very sensitive nose and knows the smell of Kotetsu, he is not afraid of losing Kotetsu. Soon Tanjiro found Kotetsu on a tree. Kotetsu was probably afraid that Tanjiro would catch up with him, so he wanted to climb up the tree to hide from Tanjiro. Zairotai sat on a branch of a big tree, and then lay on the main trunk of the tree and cried, as if he could not accept the damage to the mechanical doll. After all, the mechanical doll was the only legacy left by Zairotai's ancestors, and no one else in the swordsmith village could make such a sophisticated mechanical doll, which made the mechanical doll even more important. Chapter 581 Damaged Doll. Seeing the crying Kotetsu, Tanjiro thought that he might have run away, because he didn't want others to see him crying and looking cowardly. Tanjiro knew why Zaratetsu was crying, so he comforted her. Zaratetsu, you are still young, and have plenty of room for growth. Even if you can't repair the mechanical doll now, you will be able to repair it in 10 or 20 years, as long as you work hard. Don't give up just like that. Hearing this, Zaratetsu still wiped his tears, and said in self-abandonment, no, I know I'm a useless person, because I'm useless, everything will end in my generation. Tanjiro, who had already climbed up the tree, suddenly slapped Zaratetsu in the face, and then said angrily, even if you can't do it, you must let others inherit it. Your father must think so too. Even if you can't do it, you must work hard for your children and grandchildren to inherit the wisdom of their ancestors. Tanjiro's slap and what he said made Zaratetsu completely confused, but Zaratetsu was not angry because Tanjiro slapped him. Instead, He felt warm in his heart and was full of fighting spirit. It seemed that at that moment, he seemed to have been reborn. Kotetsu wiped the tears from his eyes, then nodded firmly to Tanjiro and said, "I will. Thank you." Tanjiro also nodded firmly, then said, "Let's go back and take a look at the mechanical doll." On the way back, Tanjiro and Kotetsu ran into Tokito Muchiro. Tokito Muchiro ignored Tanjiro and Kotetsu and walked straight past them, as if they were air. Tanjiro saw Tokito Muchiro holding an arm of the mechanical doll in his hand, which seemed to have been torn off from the mechanical doll, and the mechanical doll's broken arm was holding a Nichiren sword. Tanjiro didn't know why Tokito Muchiro did this, so he stopped him and asked, "Why did you tear off the arm of the mechanical doll? Even if it was for training, you can't just destroy the mechanical doll passed down by Zaitetsu's ancestors. After all, the mechanical doll is based on your ancestors. You are too disrespectful to your ancestors." Seeing Tanjiro stopping him, Tokito Muchiro also stopped and then asked him with a blank face, "Who are you?" From Tokito Muchiro's eyes, it seems that he really can't remember that he has seen Tanjiro. After a while, Tokito Muchiro seemed to remember it again and said, "I remember. My knife is broken, so I took the one in the doll's hand." When Zaitetsu saw that the arm of the mechanical doll was torn off by Tokito Muchiro, he couldn't help but worry about the situation of the mechanical doll and then ran away again without looking back. But this time Zaitetsu didn't escape, but rushed back to confirm the damage of the mechanical doll. At this moment, Tokito Muchiro took off the damaged Nichiren sword from his waist, threw it to Tanjiro, and said lightly, "Help me throw it away." The damaged Nichiren sword seemed like garbage in his eyes. Although Tokito Muchiro's behavior seemed like he was ordering people around, Tanjiro did not sense any malice from him, as if his behavior was completely unintentional. After throwing the damaged Nichiren sword to Tanjiro, Tokito Muchiro did not stay for too long and walked away directly. The crow on Tokito Muchiro's shoulder could not help but turn his head to look at Tanjiro and then snorted with contempt, as if he looked down on Tanjiro very much and felt that he, a crow, was superior to Tanjiro. Chapter 582, Combat Training with the Mechanical Dolls. Although Tanjiro was somewhat dissatisfied with Tokito Muchiro's behavior of discarding the damaged Nichiren sword, Tanjiro knew that it was meaningless to argue with Tokito Muchiro. Moreover, Tanjiro did not feel any malice from Tokito Muchiro's behavior just now, and it seemed to be an unintentional act. From the looks of it, Tokito Muchiro is a guy who does not know the warmth and coldness of human nature. After that, Tanjiro picked up the Nichiren sword discarded by Tokito Muchiro, and then turned to find Kotetsu. When he came to the place where Tokito Muchiro and the mechanical doll had just fought, Kotetsu was already standing in front of the mechanical doll that had collapsed on the ground in a daze. The mechanical doll that fell to the ground seemed to have lost its soul and no longer had the vitality of the battle just now. At this moment, the sky seemed to be not good, and black clouds suddenly pressed down, and then it began to rain. Tanjiro walked over and said to the dazed Kotetsu, "Let the mechanical doll stand up first and see the damage." "Yeah." Kotetsu nodded. Then, Tanjiro and Kotetsu helped the fallen mechanical puppet up. The mechanical puppet that barely stood up was limp, and you could see a hole in its chest made by Tokito Muchiro, and the mechanical structure inside was exposed. The mechanical puppet did not move at all, and it seemed that it would not move anymore. Seeing this, Kotetsu could not help but say sadly, "It really can't move anymore." Just as Kotetsu finished speaking, the gears inside the mechanical puppet suddenly started to turn again, and then the joints of the body started to move under the drive of the gears, and finally it took a defensive posture, as if the mechanical puppet was using this behavior to tell Kotetsu that it could continue to fight. Great, it moved. It moved. Kotetsu-kun. Tanjiro jumped up excitedly. Kotetsu also clenched his fists excitedly, and his whole body began to tremble. "Yes, Mr. Tanjiro, use this to practice. Please become stronger than that stinky brat who just looked nonchalant and was very annoying. I will definitely do my best to help you." Zaitetsu asked Tanjiro with resentment. Tanjiro did not expect Zaitetsu to hate Tokito Muchiro so much, but Tokito Muchiro's rude behavior just now was indeed easy for Zaitetsu. As a child, to bear a grudge. When you become as strong as that stinky brat, say this to him. You rubbish. Are you keeping your hair for the new year? Cut it off. Kelphead. Shorty, short-legged corgi, go and commit seppuku. What a disgrace. Then, Zaratetsu's subsequent venomous words shocked Tanjiro. Zaratetsu, what you said is too. I can't say such excessive words. No. If you want to say it, you must not let that stinky brat get too arrogant. Zaratetsu said in a very tough attitude. Seeing that being tough didn't work, Kotetsu started to beg Tanjiro, insisting that Tanjiro say those words to Takito Muchiro. After that, Tanjiro started the first round of special training with the mechanical puppet, but was nearly killed by the mechanical puppet, which was completely different from the situation, where Takito Muchiro and the mechanical puppet were evenly matched. In the end, Tanjiro was a little afraid of the mechanical puppet, and then he lay on the ground, exhausted, and said to Kotetsu, Kotetsu, this 6-armed puppet is too difficult to deal with. I was almost killed by it just now. I was scared to death. Why don't we just forget it? Chapter 583 Analysis of Emperor's IoT. The reason why Tanjiro wanted to retreat was mainly because it was the first time for Tanjiro to undergo such a life-threatening training. After all, the mechanical puppets have no emotions and will not stop when Tanjiro's life is in danger, so it is true that he will be killed if he is not careful. Fortunately, the mechanical puppets will not chase, so as long as Tanjiro exits the attack range of the mechanical puppets, he will be out of the battle. And because the operation of the mechanical puppets relies on the key to turn the operating mechanism in the puppet's body, which is similar to the spring, so as to drive the mechanical puppet to move, the operation time of the mechanical puppet is also limited, which can only last for about 3 minutes. When the mechanical puppet stops moving, the key must be used again to turn the operating mechanism of the puppet. Although the way the mechanical puppet fights may be a bit rigid, the attack path of the mechanical puppet is not so easy to figure out. In addition, it has 5 arms, so the attack of the mechanical puppet looks very mysterious, not relying on many arms and chaotic slashing. And Zaratetsu said before that the 6 arms were just to maximize the restoration of the attack method of that Yuichiro Tsugakuni. This also shows that Yuichiro Tsugakuni is not only fast in swordplay, but also very strange, making Tanjiro unable to defend himself. From the puppet, we can imagine how terrifying the original was at that time. If Yuichiro Tsugakuni competed with Bai Yu, Bai Yu might not be able to defeat Yuichiro Tsugakuni without the ability of ghost transformation. It's 5 arms, one of which was broken by that brat, and the performance of the puppet has declined. How can you be so weak? You will really show off in front of that brat later. Zaratetsu said, and stretched out his hand to pull up the disappointing Tanjiro. Zaratetsu didn't expect Tanjiro to be so weak. After all, he was counting on Tanjiro to give Takito Muchiro a warning. If you are so desperate, you are no different from a weak chicken. Hurry up and raise your head. Hearing this, Tanjiro couldn't help but raise his head. At this time, you can see that there are bloody wounds on Tanjiro's face caused by the attack of the mechanical puppet. Then, Tanjiro said, Zaratetsu, let me slow down first. Slow down. Tanjiro didn't expect Zaratetsu to become so stern, as if he really wanted to teach Takito Muchiro a lesson. While Tanjiro was taking a break, Zaratetsu continued to say to him, Mr. Tanjiro, you have a very fatal habit. You always have to wait until your opponent makes a move before you make a judgment and react. This won't work. You will always be half a beat slower this way. The key is your foundation. It's a mess. It's a pity that you can still live until now. With your level, you can barely stay in the Demon Slayer core. I will completely correct all your fatal weaknesses. So until you meet my requirements, I won't give you food. Just accept my special training of Uchi-Zero style. I will definitely teach that brat a lesson. Tanjiro didn't expect that Zaratetsu could actually analyze his shortcomings in battle. He was a little surprised, but Zaratetsu didn't seem to be talking nonsense. His analysis was indeed quite accurate. Tanjiro does have the habit of analyzing his opponent's moves before reacting, which is just to better deal with his opponent. Chapter 584 Cruel Training. However, Kotetsu's mouth is really poisonous, and he was not polite at all in his comments on Tanjiro. Tanjiro also knew that many times, if it weren't for Bai Yu, he would have been killed long ago. It was Bai Yu who allowed Tanjiro to live to this day, so facing Kotetsu's harshness, Tanjiro's fighting spirit was ignited in his heart. The mechanical puppet is a good opportunity to improve himself. If he can defeat the mechanical puppet, even if he can't become stronger than Takito Muchiro, then at least the distance between him and him will be shortened, because what he can do too. After Kotetsu finished speaking, he took advantage of the gap when Tanjiro was buffering and came behind the mechanical puppet. At this time, the mechanical puppet had stopped moving and Kotetsu began to fiddle with the mechanical puppet. I didn't tell that brat before that in addition to being able to use a key to rotate a specific hole to change the puppet's combat mode, the puppet's wrist and fingers can also be adjusted more finely. By turning the wrist and fingers, the mechanism structure can be changed more finely, and the combat mode can be adjusted more finely. The swordsmith adjusts the combat mode of the mechanical puppet according to the swordsman's own weaknesses and effects, so that the mechanical puppet can be more restrained against the swordsman's weaknesses, thereby more effectively helping the swordsman overcome his own fatal weaknesses and defects. So that annoying guy, the battle with the mechanical puppet just now didn't help him much. And I will make a detailed adjustment to the combat mode of the mechanical puppet, based on your weaknesses and defects. Zyutai said, while fiddling with the mechanical puppet. Although Zyutai did not have the ability to repair the mechanical puppet, he was still very proficient in adjusting the mechanical puppet. Afterwards, in order to ensure Tanjiro's life, Zyutetsu also replaced the sunblade in the mechanical puppet's hand with a wooden long stick. In this way, even if Tanjiro was hit, he would be relatively safe. After doing this, Zyutetsu said to Tanjiro, hurry up and start training. I have changed the mechanical puppet's weapon to a wooden stick. There is no danger to life. After that, Zyutetsu pulled out the key and ran away. The mechanical puppet has already started to move, and Tanjiro then bites the bullet to meet it. But after Zyutetsu's adjustment, the mechanical puppet attacks Tanjiro's gap every time, making it impossible for Tanjiro to parry or dodge. It can be said that, if Zyutetsu had not replaced the mechanical puppet's weapon with a wooden stick, Tanjiro would have been either seriously injured or killed on the spot. This time, Tanjiro didn't even have a chance to dodge, and was directly beaten, and flew out by the mechanical puppet's stick. And this time, Tanjiro was beaten directly with a swollen nose and a nosebleed. Although the attack did not kill Tanjiro, it was extremely painful. Hurry up and stand up. You have to overcome the habit of thinking too much during the battle. You have to rely on the subtle changes in the airflow to judge the opponent's attack point. In front of the strong, you have no chance to think. Zyutetsu reminded Tanjiro, who was knocked down. However, even with Zyutetsu's reminder, Tanjiro's first day of training was still unsatisfactory. He was basically tortured. Zyutetsu was also ruthless and really didn't give Tanjiro a meal. Chapter 585 Qualitative Change. Although Zyutetsu analyzed Tanjiro's fatal flaws and adjusted the mechanical puppet to suit Tanjiro's own situation, Zyutetsu was an outsider after all. He thought that only cruelty could improve Tanjiro, so he didn't care whether Tanjiro's body could bear it. Therefore, his special training for Tanjiro could be said to be torture. In such a consuming training, Zyutetsu not only didn't give Tanjiro food, but also didn't give Tanjiro water to drink, which made Tanjiro's body always in a very extreme state, and he almost died. If it weren't for the recent rainy weather, Tanjiro relied on the rain to barely maintain his life. However, it was also in this state that on the 10th day, Tanjiro's body and spirit began to sublimate, and there were changes that he didn't know. Tanjiro's whole body became much leaner during these 10 days of devil training, and the water content and fat content of his muscles reached a very low level. As a result, Tanjiro's body no longer felt hungry, and his nerves became more active, and his mental level seemed to have risen to another level. It can be said that these changes in Tanjiro, in addition to the cruelty of Kotetsu, are also due to the weather. If there is no rain to maintain the basic operation of the cells in Tanjiro's body, Tanjiro would have died of thirst long ago. It is also because Tanjiro fought with the mechanical doll in a hungry state before, so Tanjiro's brain completely lost any thinking in the battle at that time. Facing the attack of the mechanical doll, he reacted completely by relying on his body's instinct. It can be said that hunger naturally made him overcome the problem of thinking too much during the battle. And Tanjiro's body gradually adapted to this fighting method that reacted completely by relying on his body's instinct. This allowed Tanjiro to gradually dodge the attack of the mechanical doll, and Kotetsu saw that Tanjiro had made progress, so he replaced the wooden stick of the mechanical doll with the highly lethal Nichiren sword. The change of weapons made Tanjiro's nerves tense to a critical point again. Tanjiro trained in this state for another 5 days. During these 5 days, Tanjiro gradually felt the subtle fluctuations of the air when the mechanical puppet attacked. Tanjiro used this perception to make his body react instinctively through his brain. Tanjiro, who gradually became familiar with this change, finally attacked the mechanical puppet in a very funny and embarrassed posture during the battle with the mechanical puppet. It was better to say that he just happened to touch the mechanical puppet rather than attack it. Therefore, Tanjiro's effective attack did not cause any damage to the mechanical puppet, and the mechanical puppet affected by external forces also stopped working. This was also the first time that Tanjiro was able to touch the mechanical puppet. This progress seemed very small, but it was a qualitative change. Seeing that Tanjiro's effective attack stopped the mechanical puppet from working, Zyuote couldn't help but feel happy for Tanjiro and cheered. Finally, I can touch Yuichizero style. Although the attack did not cause any effect on the mechanical puppet, I can give you food. When Tanjiro heard this good news, his whole face was in tears. After half a month of training, he could finally eat. Chapter 586, Defeat the Mechanical Doll. Finally, Tanjiro had a big meal. Although he hadn't eaten for half a month, Tanjiro didn't eat as fast as expected. Facing the rich food prepared by Zyuotetsu for him, Tanjiro ate for a long time. This was also the longest rest time for Tanjiro. During this period, Tanjiro was able to tell Zyuotetsu about his changes during this period. Through his own observation, Zyuotetsu also understood the changes in Tanjiro. Zyuotetsu also knew that Tanjiro had overcome the habit of thinking too much during the battle, and his body had begun to undergo qualitative changes. Although this change has not yet reached the level of a pillar, it has brought Tanjiro closer to the pillar. It can be said that, if Tanjiro meets Dakime in his current state, Tanjiro's chances of winning will be much greater than before, and Dakime will not pose too much threat to Tanjiro. After eating for the first time in half a month, Tanjiro slowly fell asleep during the rest period after the meal. This was a real rest for Tanjiro. This rest allowed Tanjiro's body to further adapt to the changes that had taken place. Zyuotetsu did not disturb Tanjiro's rest this time, but took this opportunity to make new adjustments to the mechanical puppet again. After all, Tanjiro has changed, so the mechanical puppet must also follow Tanjiro's changes and make corresponding adjustments. Tanjiro slept for 3 days, and a new round of training began 3 days later. Tanjiro, who had a full rest, had a great change in temperament. Tanjiro did not relax because of this, and started training with the mechanical puppet as soon as possible. In this duel with the mechanical puppet, Tanjiro soon discovered the subtle changes in the mechanical man's attack method, which was obviously adjusted by Zyuotetsu to the mechanical puppet. Although Zyuotetsu made adjustments, Tanjiro did not appear unable to adapt. Because Tanjiro can now clearly sense the attack point of each attack of the mechanical puppet, and the body will respond accordingly at the first time. Although Tanjiro is still in a state of passive defense, Tanjiro can feel that he seems to have the ability to counterattack, and Tanjiro is also looking for opportunities to counterattack in such defense. As Tanjiro becomes more and more familiar with the attack rhythm of the mechanical puppet, Tanjiro gradually finds the gap between the mechanical puppet's attacks. This was something that Tanjiro had not been able to do before. From this point of view, it can also be indirectly proved that Tanjiro is more powerful than before. Tanjiro suddenly jumped into the air, and the whole person was in an upside down posture with his head down. This also put Tanjiro in the gap of the mechanical puppet's attack, and cleverly avoided the attack of the mechanical puppet. At the same time, Tanjiro instinctively attacked the neck of the mechanical puppet. This was an instinctive reaction without any brain consideration. Just as Tanjiro's demon-slaying sword swung towards the neck of the mechanical puppet, the demon-slaying sword in Tanjiro's hand suddenly paused, as if he wanted to give up this attack. The reason why Tanjiro suddenly stopped the attack was because he thought that his attack might destroy the legacy left by Zaratetsu's ancestors. Cut it down. Zaratetsu shouted, and Tanjiro was also influenced by this voice and let the paused blade swing towards the neck of the mechanical puppet again. The mechanical puppet whose neck was hit immediately stopped working. Tanjiro curled up his body and sat down on the ground in an extremely ungraceful posture. There happened to be a small stone protruding from the ground, and Tanjiro's expression suddenly changed. He then covered his buttocks, and cold sweat broke out on his face. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 587, The Sword Hidden in the Mechanical Doll. The small protruding stones on the ground made Tanjiro experience the pain of the Millennium Killing. When Zaratetsu saw Tanjiro holding his buttocks with a painful look on his face, he hurried forward and asked, "Are you okay, Mr. Tanjiro?" Tanjiro endured the pain in his buttocks and replied, "I'm fine. I'm sorry. I broke the doll. It's okay. I will definitely fix it. You said that, even if I can't do it, my descendants will definitely be able to do it." Zaratetsu didn't mean to blame Tanjiro at all. After all, it was he who asked Tanjiro to chop it down. Immediately, the two looked at the mechanical doll, and the mechanical doll, that had lost its function, knelt on the ground. The head of the mechanical doll had been chopped off by Tanjiro, which made the mechanical doll have no head. However, because of the damage to the head, the handle of a knife hidden in the body of the mechanical doll was exposed. Zaratetsu, what is that? Is it the spine of the mechanical doll? Tanjiro asked Zaratetsu. Hearing this, Zyuote walked forward to take a look. Zyuote didn't know what was going on inside the mechanical doll. When Zyuote got closer, he found that it was not the spinal part of the mechanical doll, but a long sword hidden inside the mechanical doll. It was obviously hidden inside when it was made. It's a sword. It should have been hidden inside when the doll was made. It looks like it has been there for hundreds of years. Maybe it's the sword of the mechanical doll itself. Zyuote put his hands in front of his chest and answered while analyzing. Then, Zyuote said, "Mr. Tanjiro can accept this sword. This is also your fate with it." Hearing this, Tanjiro was a little flattered. If it was true as Zyuote said, the sword hidden inside the mechanical doll belonged to the mechanical doll itself, then the origin of this sword would be very great. After all, this is the sword of the user of sun breathing, or the sword of the ancestor of Tokito Muchiro. If he took it away, it would be a bit unreasonable. No, 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 no. Tanjiro stuttered a little, and then said, "If it really is Senior Tsuchikoku's sword, then it would be a waste of talent for me to use it. I don't think I deserve to own this sword. As Senior Tsuchikoku's descendant, Tokito Muchiro should be more suitable to be the owner of this sword." Seeing Tanjiro mention the annoying Tokito Muchiro, Kotetsu became a little displeased, and then said, "How could that brat be qualified to get this sword? A brat like him with no humanity probably doesn't even know who his ancestors are. I won't give him the sword." "Mr. Tanjiro, don't you often dream about Senior Tsuchikoku? So you and Senior Tsuchikoku must have a very close relationship. If this sword is Senior Tsuchikoku's sword, then you are the more suitable person to be its owner. Aren't you here for the Nichiren sword? Then it appeared, just when you needed the sword. Isn't this destined?" After Tanjiro heard what Kotetsu said, he also felt that this was the case, and he couldn't help but give up the idea of refusing, and said, "Okay then." After that, Tanjiro pulled the knife out of the mechanical puppet. Kotetsu couldn't wait to say to Tanjiro, "Hurry up and take a look. The sword from the Warring States period is a rare and top grade product." Chapter 588, The Iron Mound appears. Hearing this, Tanjiro was even more curious about how good this sword was. If it was a good sword, then there was no need to ask Mr. Tetsuzuka to forge it for him. So, Tanjiro held his breath and slowly pulled the sword out of the scabbard. After pulling the blade out of the scabbard, Tanjiro saw a lot of rust on the blade. The situation was not as perfect as he imagined. Seeing this, Tanjiro and Kotetsu couldn't help but feel a little awkward. This atmosphere lasted for half a minute, and finally it was Kotetsu who broke the awkward atmosphere. Oh, this is also very normal. After all, it has been 300 years, and this sword has never been maintained. I just made you happy for nothing. I'm so sorry. Kotetsu didn't forget to apologize to Tanjiro. Although Tanjiro was a little disappointed, he didn't feel too unhappy. It's okay. Anyway, the village chief of Titsuji also said that I can ask other people to help me forge the sword. Tanjiro replied. At this time, there was a movement in the woods. Tanjiro and Kotetsu looked over and found a burly figure walking towards them. Tanjiro only noticed this person after he approached because he did not have any dangerous aura, and this was a sword forging village, so it was very safe. When this person approached, Tanjiro saw that he was a muscular man with half of his body exposed, also wearing a fireman mask. Mr. Kotetsu? Kotetsu shouted, and was very surprised by the appearance of Mr. Kotetsu. However, because of the huge change in Kotetsu's body shape, Tanjiro did not recognize him at once. It was only after Kotetsu called Kotetsu's name that Tanjiro realized that the muscular man was Kotetsu. I heard what you said, leave it to me from now on. Kotetsu came to Tanjiro and Kotetsu and said. After that, Kotetsu took the initiative to pick up the rusty Nichiren sword. Tanjiro didn't want him to take the sword away from Katsuka, so Tanjiro and Katsuka started fighting for the rusty Nichiren sword. Let go, this is Titsuka's thing. What do you want to do with it? Tanjiro asked in confusion. If Katsuka told him the reason why he took the sword away, Tanjiro might not stop Katsuka. You said you'd give it to me. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Katsuka said very toughly, and he didn't want to explain too much. In the end, Tanjiro still failed to snatch Katsuka, who had become a muscular man, and Katsuka successfully snatched the Nichiren sword hidden inside the mechanical doll. Just when Katsuka grabbed the Nichiren sword, Titsuka suddenly appeared behind Katsuka, and Titsuka stretched his hands to Katsuka's armpits. Then he started to tickle him. Boys, Mr. Katsuka's weakness is his armpits. You have to attack his weakness. Titsuka tickled Katsuka's armpits while saying. Tetsuzuka also laughed loudly, and finally fainted from laughing. Mr. Titsuka Mori. Tanjiro also shouted. He was also very surprised by Titsuka Mori's appearance. After Titsuka Mori subdued Titsuka, he greeted Tanjiro. Long time no see. Tanjiro. Mr. Titsuka will faint for a while after being tickled in the armpit, so let me explain the situation to you. Chapter 589, Restoring the Rusted Sunblade from 300 years ago. Actually, Katsuka went to the mountains to practice. It's not that he doesn't want to forge a sword for you. Hearing this, Tanjiro also became curious. Katsuka became a muscular man. Is it the result of practice? To train such a body, he must have suffered a lot. In order to forge a better Nichiren sword, to prevent you from dying, Katsuka went to the mountains to practice, but he won't tell you honestly? Tanjiro couldn't help but be moved by Katsuka's subsequent words. Tanjiro didn't expect Katsuka to care about him so much. You have been asking Mr. Katsuka to forge swords for you. I think he should be very happy, because this man is not well liked by other swordsmen, so he is often asked to be removed by swordsmen, and other swordsmiths will do the forging work for Katsuka. After Tixosan finished speaking, Zyauti also teased. Although Mr. Katsuka has a very good heart, he has a weird temper, so until now, no girl is willing to marry him. Just as Zyauti finished speaking, the fainted Katsuka woke up, and he bounced up on the ground like a fish that fell on land. Zyauti leaned towards Tanjiro at once, fearing that Katsuka would lose his temper with him because of what he had just said. Standing in front of everyone again, Katsuzuka began to dance and said, "Give me this rusty sword. I will use the Katsuzuka family's generational Nichiren sword grinding technique to polish it and make it look sharp again." Then why don't you just explain it? You appear like a robber and a retard. You don't say anything when I ask you. Zyauti couldn't help but complain. Zyauti's words undoubtedly angered Katsuzuka. Katsuzuka, who has strong muscles, instantly picked up Zyoti like a chicken, as if he was going to beat Zyoti. Seeing this, Tanjiro and Tsukamori immediately stepped forward to stop him. After all, Katsuzuka, who has a weird temper, might really beat Zyoti for this. In the end, Zyoti handed the rusty Nichiren sword to Katsuzuka. After Katsuzuka got the rusty Nichiren sword, he immediately started the repair work without any pause. Because the mechanical doll was damaged, Tanjiro could not continue the combat training with the mechanical doll, so Tanjiro's devilish special training ended. Then Tanjiro returned to the guest house that hosted him. What he didn't expect was that Fushigi Genai was also eating in the dining room. He didn't know whether he should be happy or depressed. However, Tanjiro did not take the initiative to sit with Fushigi Genai. The two of them sat at two separate tables. Kanrigi Mitsuri has also left the swordsmith village, so even if Tanjiro wanted to share the results of his training with the mechanical doll with her, it was obviously unlikely. The villagers brought Tanjiro dinner for tonight. While eating, Tanjiro muttered to himself. Mr. Tsukamori said that it would take 3 days to sharpen the rusty Nichiren sword, and the grinding method is very cruel. It seems that it can even kill people. I'm really worried. But Mr. Tsukamori said that I must never peek, and I don't know whether I should go or not. Although Tanjiro seemed to be talking to himself, he actually said these words to Fushigi Genai. Tanjiro also wanted to test whether Fushigi Genai would pay attention to him. If so, that would be great. Chapter 590, The Swordsmith Village is invaded. Shut up, get out. Fusagor Zuanai turned around and yelled at Tanjiro. Tanjiro was delighted to see Fusagor Zuanai respond to him. Although Fusagor Zuanai said insulting words, at least he took the initiative to respond to him. Obviously, Fusagor Zuanai still wanted to communicate with others. Your reaction should be that you really want to make friends with others, right? Tanjiro asked. Who wants to make friends with you? Get out. You are so self-indulgent. Fusagor Zuanai denied. In the end, Tanjiro was driven out of the dining room by Fusagor Zuanai. Tanjiro was also helpless about this, and then said to Fusagor Zuanai, I haven't finished my dinner yet. Hearing this, Fusagor Zuanai really couldn't stand Tanjiro anymore. He was no longer in the mood to eat, so he took the initiative to leave the room. After that, Tanjiro returned to the room alone, and then ate dinner helplessly. In the dead of night, there was a pot-shaped vessel on one of the steps leading to the hot spring. A villager who had just finished taking a hot spring bath happened to pass by and saw an exquisite pot thrown by someone on the steps, blocking the way. The villager couldn't help but stop and wondered, who put this here? It's late at night. If you don't pay attention, it's really easy to trip over it. It's too dangerous. The villager wanted to take the pot to where it should be. Just as the villager reached out to touch the pot, he was suddenly sucked into the pot, and blood sprayed out from the mouth of the bottle, splashing the ground near the steps. This pot was like a man-eating monster, as if it had life. Suddenly, the pot that swallowed the villager whole suddenly fell down. Then, a large amount of mucus gushed out of the mouth of the bottle, and the villager's body was mixed in the mucus. For some unknown reason, the villager who was swallowed into the pot was vomited out again. Although the villager was vomited out, he no longer had any signs of life, because when he was vomited out, his body was twisted beyond recognition. It can be said that, even if Bai Yu was present, he could not save this person. Afterwards, a very ugly monster emerged from the bottle mouth again. This monster was the 5th of the 12 demon moons, Yuhu, and the villager was swallowed by Yuhu who lived in the pot. It's unpalatable. The meat of the mountain people is really unpalatable. Yuhu said with disdain. We still have to find that 1,000-year-old tree. Blue-red spider lily. Blue-red spider lily. Yuhu murmured. In addition to Yuhu, the 5th of the upper strings, Dauma, the 2nd of the upper strings, and Hantengu, the 4th of the upper strings, also invaded the sword forging village tonight, but the 3 were scattered in different places in the village. Although it is not known how they learned the location of the sword forging village, the appearance of the 3 upper strings of the 12 demon moons has obviously proved that the location of the village has been exposed. As for Hantengu, his mission is to deal with Tanjiro. Originally, this was not included in the mission, but he happened to find that Tanjiro was also in the swordsmith village, so he had this mission temporarily. Because in the eyes of Muzan Kibatsuji, Shiraha was not in the swordsmith village, and Tanjiro lost his strongest protection. This is a perfect opportunity to kill Tanjiro. That adult is angry. Killing this kid will make that adult happy. This time, I can't let the adult down no matter what. Hantengu was lying on the roof, as if looking for Tanjiro's trace. The second upper moon Dauma was completing his mission in another place, and Dauma was not here to slaughter. His mission this time was to knock out the living, and then transfer them to other places. There are so few women here. This is a completely hard job. Chapter 591 Crisis emerges. The three upper strings all have their own missions. In addition to eradicating the swordsmith village, their mission is more importantly, to find a 1,000-year-old tree growing in the forest of the swordsmith village. It is said that this 1,000-year-old tree can bloom blue flowers of the other shore. Of course, this is just a rumor that you who heard. No one knows whether it can bloom blue flowers of the other shore. In order to make this 1,000-year-old tree bloom, according to the information obtained by Yuhu, it must be irrigated with the blood of living people, and this 1,000-year-old tree may bloom. As for how many people's blood is needed, it is unknown. This is also the reason why the second upper string Dauma did not start the massacre, because it is not the time to kill these villagers, so the village seems quiet and peaceful, but it is actually in crisis. At this time, Tanjiro was still sleeping with Nezuko in his arms, and he had no idea that danger had quietly come. Suddenly, a hand reached out to Tanjiro's face, and then pinched his nose, and Tanjiro woke up instantly. "Do you know a swordsmith named Titsuke Mori?" Takito Muchiro asked calmly, while pinching Tanjiro's nose. "Ah. Takito-kun. Why are you here?" Tanjiro was also startled by the appearance of Takito Muchiro, and he jumped up. "Your reaction is too slow. If it was an enemy, you would probably be dead." Takito Muchiro said calmly again. "The situation is different. If there was hostility, I would have noticed it, and your actions just now did not have any malicious intent." Tanjiro also explained. "By the way, what do you want to do with Mr. Titsuke Mori?" Tanjiro asked Takito Muchiro's question. "Titsuke Mori is my new swordsmith, and I want to find him to forge a sword." Takito Muchiro replied calmly. Hearing this, Tanjiro finally understood Takito Muchiro's purpose, so he said, "Mr. Titsuke Mori is with Mr. Tetsuzuka. I'll take you with me. Why do you care so much about others?" Takito Muchiro was a little confused. In his opinion, as long as Tanjiro could tell him where Titsuke Mori was, there was no need to take him there in person. "Because helping others will eventually pay off, and I just want to go see Mr. Tetsuzuka together," Tanjiro replied with a smile. Takito Muchiro's expression suddenly changed, as if Tanjiro's words aroused some memories in his heart. "What did you say just now?" Takito Muchiro asked immediately. "I said we just happened to go together. Didn't you want to find Mr. Titsuki?" Tanjiro thought Takito Muchiro didn't hear clearly, so he repeated it again. At this time, Nezuko, who was sleeping, suddenly sat up, and her little head hit Tanjiro's chin, so Tanjiro bit his tongue when he spoke. Tanjiro immediately covered his mouth, and then asked Nezuko, who had just woken up with some surprise, "Did I wake you up, Nezuko?" After Nezuko got up, she began to wave her hands. "I wonder what that means." When Takito Muchiro saw Nezuko, who had just woken up, he tilted his head and looked at her and said, "This child is so strange." Nezuko also tilted her head like Takito Muchiro and looked at him. "Have I seen this child before? It's really a headache," Takito Muchiro said with a turbid mind. At the same time, a very subtle sound came from outside the room, and the sound gradually got closer and closer to the room. This made Tanjiro feel a little strange. Who would come to see him in the middle of the night? Then, the door was pushed open by an ugly old man with a big bump on his forehead and two horns. Chapter 592 Don't Bully Me. The person who pushed open Tanjiro's door was the upper rank 4, Hantengu. The appearance of Hantengu startled Tanjiro and made him unprepared, because Tanjiro subconsciously believed that the swordsmith village was very safe and it was impossible for a ghost to appear. But now, the upper rank 4, Hantengu, who pushed open the door, slapped Tanjiro hard. The most important thing is that Tanjiro didn't even notice Hantengu's breath. But even if Hantengu appeared in front of Tanjiro, Tanjiro still didn't notice Hantengu's breath. This made Tanjiro a little scared. If Hantengu found him first, would he still be able to detect Hantengu's arrival while sleeping? Found it. Found it. Hantengu murmured excitedly. Although Tanjiro and Tokito Muchiro both instinctively prepared for battle when Hantengu appeared, it was Tokito Muchiro who reacted first. Mist breathing. 4 types. Horizontal / mist breathing. Mist breathing is a type of breathing derived from wind breathing. It is essentially a type of agile attack breathing that is enhanced by air currents and air. Mist breathing. 4 types. Horizontal / the user of mist breathing, Tokito Muchiro, uses the rhythm of mist to create an air current that can slightly lift or greatly reduce friction on the soles of his feet, thereby allowing his body to slide quickly and launch a slash. When the move is released, the surrounding air will be affected by the rhythm of mist and form a thick fog, which can interfere with the enemy's judgment of Tokito Muchiro's attack movements. Although the move is similar to Thunderbolt Flash and Purgatory Meteor, the burst and speed are not as good as Thunderbolt Flash and Purgatory Meteor. After all, thunder breathing is the fastest of all breathings, and Purgatory Meteor is the ultimate move of fire breathing, so mist breathing, 4 types, horizontal / is impossible to defeat Thunderbolt Flash and Purgatory Meteor. Moreover, in terms of the form of the moves, the horizontal / is also fundamentally different from the other two. The horizontal / is relatively smoother. When Tokito Muchiro used the horizontal /, the room was suddenly shrouded in thick fog, and Tokito Muchiro's figure quickly slid towards Hantengu. Hantengu's reaction was not slow either. When Tokito Muchiro's attack fell, he suddenly jumped onto the ceiling of the house. Then, Hantengu made a painful and aggrieved whimper. Although Hantengu dodged Tokito Muchiro's attack, Tokito Muchiro's attack hit Hantengu's face and left a long bloody wound on it. Hantengu covered his injured face with one hand and then said very aggrievedly, "Don't bully me. Don't bully me. I'm just an old man." It hurts so much. Hantengu's voice was like that of an abused old man. That voice made people feel pity, as if Hantengu was really an extremely pitiful old grandfather. This voice can especially arouse a kindness in Tanjiro's heart. Even though he knows that the other party is a demon, Tanjiro still can't bear to kill him. He is a demon. He is a demon. He is an upper rank demon who has killed many people. You must not have any thoughts of pitying him. Tanjiro kept giving himself psychological hints. Under this hint, the kindness in Tanjiro's heart was finally suppressed. The next moment, Tanjiro attacked Hantengu, who was lying on the ceiling pretending to be pitiful. Chapter 593. Another symbiotic relationship. Hiro no Kagura. Kajirao. Hiro no Kagura. Kajirao. When stabbing upward, the tip of the blade will produce a spiral flame that will surround the performer. However, this time, the flame produced by the move of the Hiro no Kagura is not fiery red, but purple, which looks very strange. Perhaps it is because Tanjiro is using Bai Yu's demon slaying sword. Tanjiro also noticed this and was shocked. The color of the flame has changed, and this time, Hantengu did not dodge Tanjiro's attack, but was stabbed by Tanjiro and fell down. Hantengu, who fell from the ceiling, was still wailing pitifully and had no intention of launching an attack. This made Tanjiro a little confused, but also made Tanjiro extremely nervous. After all, the more abnormal things are, the more things are often not that simple. Hantengu happened to fall beside Tanjiro, and then, Nezuko, who looked like a child, suddenly transformed into an adult form for fighting. This form was exactly the form when Nezuko lost control at that time. Nezuko, who had transformed into a combat form, kicked Hantengu out with one kick, seemingly unwilling to let any danger get close to Tanjiro. "Nezuko, don't become like that. I don't want you to lose control again." Tanjiro saw Nezuko in this form and couldn't help but worry that Nezuko would lose control again like last time. Just when Nezuko kicked Hantengu out, Tokito Muchiro cooperated with Nezuko, and while Hantengu was still floating in the air, his body suddenly slid towards Hantengu again, and then cut off Hantengu's neck with one knife, and Tokito Muchiro's figure also slid behind Hantengu. The neck is cut off. Tanjiro was immediately attracted by Taketomichiro cutting off Hantengu's neck, but Tanjiro was not happy at all, and his expression became more and more nervous. Because Tanjiro already knew that the upper rank demon would not die because of a cut on the neck. The upper rank demon is different from other demons. Tanjiro has seen it in the Flower Street. Takito-kun, be careful. The upper rank demon is not afraid of having his neck chopped off. Tanjiro immediately reminded him loudly. If it was another pillar, Tanjiro would not have deliberately reminded him, because the other pillars would definitely know more than him. As for Taketomichiro, whose mind was always empty, Tanjiro was not sure if he could remember this. As soon as he finished speaking, the severed head of Hantengu quickly grew a strong body. Behind Taketomichiro, the headless body with its back to Taketomichiro also grew a new head. The body grew out of the head, and while the body grew, the head of the old man with a bulge on his forehead also changed, and became the appearance of a young man. If the appearance of the upper rank demon was ranked again at this time, then Hantengu's appearance at this time would definitely be below Dauma and above Akaza. The other individual who grew a head again on the body, the head that grew out was no longer the old one before, but also the appearance of a young man. It's split. Is it a symbiotic relationship again? Tanjiro couldn't help but analyze. Leave the back to me. Takito-kun, you go deal with the front. Tanjiro, who had analyzed the situation, immediately took action and rushed towards the Hantengu behind Taketomichiro. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 594, Life and Death. Taketomichiro did not respond to Tanjiro, but took actual action directly, and rushed towards the Hantengu in front of him. After the Hantengu in front of Taketomichiro was completely reshaped, he was holding a huge leaf-shaped fan in his hand. As Taketomichiro rushed forward, Hantengu holding the fan suddenly waved at Taketomichiro. Suddenly, a huge airflow blew Taketomichiro out. Rather than being blown out, it was better to say that he was hit by a huge airflow. The whole person crashed into the house and burst out like a cannonball. Because the distance was very close, Taketomichiro could not dodge at all, and the attack range affected most of the room. Even Tanjiro was affected. If Nezuko had not taken the opportunity to grab the incomplete building, and Tanjiro who was blown away, Tanjiro would definitely have been hit by the powerful airflow and blown out 1,000 meters away like Taketomichiro. A huge hole was instantly created in the room where Tanjiro was. This huge movement also hinted that the battle had officially started. When the terrifying hurricane slowly dissipated and the air around it returned to calm, Nezuko and Tanjiro were able to land on their feet. However, Tanjiro did not immediately attack the split Hantengu. "I'm so happy. I'm finally out again," said the happy ghost, holding the fan, and the excitement that could not be hidden from him could be felt from him. "What's there to be happy about? I only have endless anger. Being with you is really infuriating." The other angry ghost, holding the tin staff, said angrily. This happy ghost and angry ghost are individuals split from Hantengu's different emotions, one representing happiness and the other representing anger. Really? It's great to be separated. If we can stay separated, it will be even better. Happy ghost said very happily. The extremely angry devil directly chopped the tin stick in his hand, and then countless arcs of electricity spread from the end of the tin stick, covering the entire room. Immediately, Tanjiro felt a strong current flowing into his body, and because of this strong current Tanjiro's feet were firmly attached to the tatami. Even if Tanjiro wanted to jump out of this area with electric current, he could not move at all. Under the influence of this strong current, Tanjiro's consciousness gradually became blurred. If he didn't get out of trouble, Tanjiro's brain would definitely be destroyed by the current. The same is true for Nezuko. At this time, she was also attached to the floor by a strong current and could not move, so Nezuko could not help Tanjiro get out of trouble. However, as a demon, these currents would not put her life in danger. And as time goes by, Nezuko's body is likely to adapt and become immune to the effects of these currents. However, as a human being, Tanjiro simply cannot hold on for so long. At this critical moment, Tanjiro thought of Bai Yu again. If Bai Yu was there, the situation would be solved. At this moment, Tanjiro saw a person standing on the broken roof. Zu and me. Chapter 595. Hantengao's Joys and Sorrows. The person standing on the roof was Fujiwara Geniya, who was holding a double-barreled rifle in his hand and was aiming at the necks of Angry Oni and Happy Oni. The next second, Fujiwara Geniya pulled the trigger, and the bullet holes of the double-barreled rifle immediately shot out dense ammunition, which instantly knocked off the heads of Happy Oni and Angry Oni. The head was separated from the body, which temporarily invalidated the arc attack of Angry Oni, and Tanjiro was able to catch his breath. What kind of weapon is that? It can actually have such long-range lethality. Seeing Fujiwara Geniya's rifle attack, Tanjiro was extremely shocked, because Tanjiro had never seen such a modern weapon with such huge lethality. Although Fujiwara Geniya's gunshot completely broke the neck of Angry Oni, the head of Happy Oni was still attached to some tissues and hung in front of his chest. Seeing that the head of Leslie Oni was still attached to a part of the body tissue, Fujiwara Geniya immediately pulled out the short sword at his waist, then jumped down from the roof, rushed towards Leslie Oni, and prepared to finish him off. In addition to the musket, Fujiwara Geniya's combat weapon also has a short sword, which is half the length of the regular Nichiren sword. The reason why Fujiwara Geniya uses two weapons, one of which is a modern firearm, is mainly due to physical reasons. Because Fujiwara Geniya cannot master any breathing method, this huge defect should have become an obstacle that he cannot overcome in becoming a ghost hunter. But Fujiwara Geniya also has another 1 in a million ability, that is demonization. Fujiwara Geniya's demonization is different from Bai Yu's demonization. Bai Yu's demonization is the possession of ghosts and gods, while Fujiwara Geniya's demonization is the ability to become a ghost in a short period of time by eating the body tissue of the ghost. Moreover, the stronger the ghost that Fujiwara Geniya eats, the more powerful he will be. It is also because of this special ability that Fujiwara Geniya can make up for the huge defect of not being able to breathe, and it is also the reason why he can live until now. Moreover, when Fujiwara Geniya becomes a ghost, he has self-awareness, and Fujiwara Geniya's ability to maintain his ghost transformation is not to eat people, but to eat ghosts. Therefore, there is no need to worry that Fujiwara Geniya will not be able to turn back. Oh, this is the first time for me. It's really very happy to taste this kind of attack. Lashide couldn't help laughing, and didn't mean to dodge Fujiwara Geniya's attack. Tanjiro saw that Fujiwara Geniya had already rushed towards Lashide, so he reminded him, Geniya, no. They are not afraid of having their necks cut, and your attack can't kill them. However, Fujiwara Geniya still cut off Lashide's neck completely with one knife. Tanjiro saw that the situation could not be changed, so he reminded again, they were deliberately cut in the neck, because this will allow them to continue to split and become younger and stronger. Get out of there. Hearing this, Fujiwara Geniya did not trust Tanjiro very much, so he did not leave there immediately, but looked at the angry ghost and happy ghost, whose necks he had cut off. But the fact is indeed as Tanjiro said, the heads of angry ghost and happy ghost, separated from their bodies, have become two independent individuals again. These two individuals are happy ghost and sorrowful ghost. In this way, the individuals representing the four emotions of Hantengu, joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness, have all been separated. Chapter 596. A disadvantaged situation. The devil of joy has a bird's wing on its back, and its limbs are like eagle claws, in a state of half human and half beast, which is also very different from the three closest to human states of the devil of wrath, the devil of joy, and the devil of sorrow. The devil of sorrow is the same as the devil of wrath and the devil of joy, still in human state, except that the weapon used by the devil of sorrow is a cold weapon spear. Hurry up, Geniya. Tanjiro watched Hantengu split into four individuals and couldn't help but remind Fujiwara Geniya again. Just as Tanjiro's voice fell, a black shadow suddenly pressed down from the sky, and when Tanjiro was caught off guard, he was instantly caught in the air by the Devil of Joy. I saw that the Devil of Joy's legs, which were like eagle claws, firmly clamped Tanjiro's thighs, and the posture was really like an eagle hunting prey, and Tanjiro was hanging upside down. Nezuko wanted to chase after him, but the Demon of Joy was flying in the sky, so she seemed a little helpless. Don't worry about me, Nezuko, go help Zuanaya. Tanjiro couldn't help but tell Nezuko when he saw that Nezuko seemed to want to chase him. Compared with himself, Tanjiro was more concerned about the safety of Fusagora Zuanaya, although Fusagora Zuanaya was as fierce as the wind pillar Fusagora Sanya. But at the critical moment just now, it was he who saved himself, so Tanjiro felt that Fusagora Zuanaya was a person with feelings in his heart. Now Fusagora Zuanaya was surrounded by the three demons of anger, joy, and sorrow, and his situation must be more dangerous than his own. Tanjiro was just caught in the sky by the flying demon of joy. If he only dealt with one, Tanjiro was still more confident, not to mention that Tanjiro was now using Bai Yu's demon slaying sword in his hand. As soon as Tanjiro finished speaking, the spear of the demon of sorrow had already pierced Fusagora Zuanaya's chest. Weak is sad. Sorrowful Ghost said sadly about the strength of Fusagora Zuanaya. Immediately, Fusagora Zuanaya was picked up by Sorrowful Ghost with a spear. Fusagora Zuanaya, who was unable to breathe, could not react at all under normal circumstances, and could only be stabbed by Sorrowful Ghost's spear. Tanjiro also witnessed Fusagora Zuanaya's situation, which made Tanjiro panic, and then said to Nezuko, who was shouting, "Nezuko, go save Zuanaya." And Joyful Ghost, who caught Tanjiro and suspended Tanjiro in the air, saw that Tanjiro actually had the mind to care about others, and couldn't help but joked, "You actually have the leisure to worry about others? Do you really think I'm air?" After saying that, Joyful Ghost suddenly opened his mouth wide, and powerful and harsh sound waves emanated from Joyful Ghost's mouth. This invisible sound wave attack cannot be avoided by conventional means. At the same time, after the special training, Tanjiro also instinctively swung his sword at the eagle leg that Kissing Demon was holding him. If he had not been specially trained, Tanjiro would not have swung this sword. When Tanjiro cut off one of Kissing Demon's eagle legs, the sound wave attack emitted by Kissing Demon also fell on Tanjiro. The extremely stimulating sound waves with huge energy instantly made Tanjiro lose consciousness for a short time, and blood came out of his nose and ears. Tanjiro, who lost consciousness, fell to the ground because he cut off the eagle leg that Kissing Demon was holding him. In the process of falling from a high altitude, Tanjiro's consciousness slowly recovered. There happened to be a huge tree below where Tanjiro fell. With the help of the buffer of the branches of the big tree, Tanjiro avoided being directly killed by the fall. Chapter 597, The Limits of Han Tengao's Ability. Although Tanjiro used the branches to cushion the impact of landing, it does not mean that Tanjiro did not suffer any damage. After falling, Tanjiro's chest was still stuffy, and then he vomited blood. Coupled with the sonic attack of Kissing Demon just now, Tanjiro's body could not stand up immediately, even if he wanted to. And Kissing Demon, whose eagle leg was cut off, soon found that his wound seemed to be suppressed by some kind of force, and could not regenerate and recover immediately. Although this was the first time he encountered such a situation, Kissing Demon did not panic at all, because Akaza had experienced it and reported this situation. Han Tengao also knew that Bai Yu's attack could suppress the regeneration of Demon, or even make it impossible for Demon to regenerate and recover. Although he was not dealing with Bai Yu now, Tanjiro was the person who walked closest to Bai Yu after all, so it was reasonable for Tanjiro to know this little trick. Therefore, Kissing Demon did not panic at all, but tried his best to erase the suppressing force. This process took Kishin 5 seconds, and although these 5 seconds seemed short, they gave Tanjiro a chance to catch his breath. Kishin no longer suppressed, grew back the eagle leg that Tanjiro had chopped off, and the broken leg that was grabbing Tanjiro's thigh also grew ahead again after Kishin was freed from the suppression of the demon slaying sword. and that head immediately opened its mouth towards Tanjiro, as if it was going to launch the sonic attack on Tanjiro again. Seeing this, Tanjiro swung his sword without any thought, and cut the new head that grew on the broken leg into two halves, which prevented the head of the broken leg from launching a sonic attack successfully. Tanjiro's instinctive reaction made him feel annoyed and panicked. Oh no. I accidentally cut off the head again. If it splits into new individuals, the situation will be really troublesome. Just when Tanjiro was panicking, the head that had grown a broken leg and was cut in half by Tanjiro did not split into a complete individual again as Tanjiro imagined. The two parts of the head could not heal together because they were suppressed by the demon slaying sword, so they were forced to become two individuals. Although the wound could not heal because of the suppression, it did not affect the ability of the two halves of the head to change their shape. The two halves of the head quickly turned into a worm-like shape with only one mouth, giving up the original head shape. Then, the two worms with one mouth, that separated from the body of Kisenoki, opened their mouths and emitted harsh sound waves to Tanjiro. Tanjiro did not attack this time because he suppressed his body's instinctive reaction. But because of this, Tanjiro was attacked by the sound waves of the two worms. Tanjiro's head instantly began to ache, but this time Tanjiro did not lose consciousness. Instead, he was surprised to find that the sonic attacks launched by the two parts of the happy ghost that had turned into worms were not as strong as the complete individual. Tanjiro immediately came to an analysis that Hantengu's limit was most likely to be only 4 individuals. After splitting into 4 individuals of joy, anger, sadness, and joy, anger, sadness, and joy no longer had the ability to split into complete individuals again. Even if they could split into incomplete individuals like these two worms, their attack power would not be as strong as that of an ordinary ghost. Chapter 598, Takito Muchiro's Ruthlessness. On the other side, Takito Muchiro, who was blown 1,000 meters away by Lezugi, was desperately rushing back. On the way, Takito Muchiro also happened to see a child from the swordsmith village being chased by a huge fish-shaped monster in the distance. The fish-shaped monster also had thick human arms. The fish-shaped monster was running on the ground with these 4 thick human arms. At the same time, there was a huge pot on the back of the fish-shaped monster. Although Takito Muchiro saw this situation, he did not take rescue measures immediately because he felt that he did not need to rescue. In his opinion, this child must not be as good as those experienced swordsmiths, and he might even be a little guy who can't even forge iron. Therefore, Takito Muchiro felt that this child had no value in rescuing. Moreover, Takito Muchiro also analyzed from the breath of the huge fish-shaped monster that this fish-shaped monster was not the original body, but a split body created by GUI using blood demon art. There is no reason to stop here. If the whole village is attacked, then we should first protect the village chief and the skilled and capable swordsmith. Takito Muchiro analyzed in his heart, without any emotion at all. He only thought about who was more worthy of protection. Because of Takito Muchiro's indifference, the child was caught by the fish-shaped monster that caught up with him. The child could be eaten by the fish-shaped monster at any time. Just when Takito Muchiro was about to ignore it, a picture suddenly flashed in his mind. It was the picture of Tanjiro talking to him before. Helping others will eventually be rewarded. It seems that in addition to Tanjiro, there is another very important person who said this to Takito Muchiro. Otherwise Takito Muchiro would not have felt touched when he heard Tanjiro's words. However, Takito Muchiro could no longer remember who said the same thing. It was also because of this image flashing through his mind that Takito Muchiro was suddenly stunned, and then he turned back. Just when the fish-shaped monster was about to swallow the child, the giant hand of the fish-shaped monster that grabbed the child was strangely cut off. The child also fell to the ground. When the child came to his senses, he saw Takito Muchiro blocking him. Kelphead. The child shouted in disbelief. The child who was rescued was Zyoti. When Zyoti saw that the person who saved him was Takito Muchiro, he was a little bit unbelievable in his heart. Zyoti thought that he would die, but he never thought that Takito Muchiro would save his life like a savior. Don't get in the way, you little brat. Run away. Takito Muchiro said again, and he didn't pay much attention to Zyoti, but took the initiative. to rush towards the fish-shaped monster. Because it was not the real body, and into Kitomuchiro's eyes, the reaction and movement of the fish-shaped monster were extremely slow, so with the next blow, Kitomuchiro easily chopped off the huge fish head of the fish-shaped monster. Zyuote didn't mean to run away, but retreated to the side. After the fish-shaped monster's head was chopped off, the fish-shaped monster's body did not turn into ashes, but regenerated a new fish head. Chapter 599, The Immortal Busan River. In the room that Tanjiro had damaged beyond recognition, Nezuko followed Tanjiro's words and planned to save Fushiguro Genai from the hands of the sorrowful ghost. However, the happy ghost did not give Nezuko this opportunity, but stopped Nezuko, and Nezuko was forced to entangle with the happy ghost. The happy ghost brought a toy with him and did not use the fan in his hand that could blow out a hurricane to blow Nezuko away, but fought with Nezuko. I don't know if the happy ghost's move was to take the opportunity to get close to Nezuko. Nezuko's attack was very simple, either punching or kicking, and there was no fighting skills, so Nezuko's attack could not touch the happy ghost at all, and in the end, her hands were held tightly by the happy ghost, and the battle became a game of strength. Come on, stinky girl, you almost scratched my head. Ha 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 ha. The happy ghost laughed and said to Nezuko. The hand that Nezuko was going to use to crush Les Ghost's head was held tightly by Les Ghost. Tear off her arms and legs for me, you really make me very upset. Angry Ghost looked impatient and angry, as if he was very upset about Les Ghost and Nezuko's flirting. Let me pierce her chest and butt. Sorrowful Ghost interrupted. After saying that, Sorrowful Ghost wanted to pull out the spear that was stabbed into the chest of Fushiguro Zuanaya, but just as Sorrowful Ghost was pulling out the spear, he found that the spear seemed to be pulled by a reaction force. Don't do anything, this girl is mine. Angry, sorrowful, you two go away, don't ruin my mood. Les Ghost immediately warned, as if he didn't want them to interfere with his time alone with Nezuko. Just when Ghost of Sorrow was wondering why he couldn't pull out his spear, Fushiguro Zuanaya, who was kneeling on the ground with his head down, couldn't help but laugh. Heavy Ghost of Sorrow looked at Fushiguro Zuanaya and saw that Fushiguro Zuanaya was holding the handle of the spear tightly with one hand. Then, Fushiguro Zuanaya raised his head and said in a very ferocious way, your opponent is me. What do you mean by thinking about a little girl? It can be said that Fushiguro Zuanaya's ferocious look is much more frightening than Ghost's momentum. As he said that, Fushiguro Zuanaya had already taken out a musket with his other hand, aimed at Ghost of Sorrow's head, and pulled the trigger at the same time. As the trigger was pulled, Ghost of Sorrow's head was immediately smashed to pieces by the ammunition shot from the musket. You are also a waste to be attacked by such a low-class little brat. Angry Ghost couldn't help but be angry and disliked Ghost of Sorrow. Just when Ghost of Sorrow's head was smashed by Fushiguro Jinmiya, Ghost of Sorrow inserted his spear into Fushiguro Jinmiya's, suddenly slashed it horizontally, and then broke Fushiguro Jinmiya's chest. Fushiguro Jinmiya's expression suddenly became painful, and a mouthful of blood spurted out of his mouth. On the other side, Ghost of Sorrow's smashed head had also grown back, and he said sadly, how sad. I didn't stab him to death with one shot, but he should have died this time. Chapter 600, Fighting more and more bravely. Just as Ghost of Sorrow finished speaking, Fushiguro Zuanaya actually began to recite Buddhist scriptures. Amitabha Sutra. Are you still alive? You are really a tenacious ant. Ghost of Sorrow was also a little surprised at Fushiguro Zuanaya's tenacious life. AI, blow his head off. I can't stand your procrastination. It really makes me angry. Ghost of Angry yelled at Ghost of Sorrow with anger. I know. Stop yelling. You're making me sad again. Ghost of Sorrow did not delay any longer and immediately swung the spear in his hand and then chopped it down heavily on Fushiguro Zuanaya's head. Suddenly, Fushiguro Zuanaya disappeared from his previous position and appeared behind Ghost of Sorrow. The reason why Fushiguro Zuanaya can move so flexibly despite suffering serious injuries is also due to his physique. Although Fusako Uzuanaya cannot master the breathing method, in addition to being able to demonize, Fusako Uzuanaya's vitality is also extremely tenacious, and the more blood he loses, the more tenacious his vitality becomes. At the same time, the functions of all aspects of the body will also increase. Of course, if the blood runs out, then Fusako Uzuanaya will also die. However, if it really comes to that time, Fusako Uzuanaya will probably take the initiative to gnaw on Hantengu's emotional clone, and then recover through demonization. The skills of obtaining a more tenacious life and enhanced body through the loss of blood are the real reason why Fusako Uzuanaya can suddenly dodge the attack of the Ghost of Sorrow and go around behind the Ghost of Sorrow. Just when Fusako Uzuanaya's short sun wheel sword was about to chop at the Ghost of Sorrow's neck, the Ghost of Anger intervened and released lightning towards Fusako Uzuanaya through the tin staff in his hand. The lightning attack was impossible to dodge, and Fusako Uzuanaya had to endure the lightning released by the angry ghost with the tin staff. The moment the lightning entered his body, it paralyzed Fusako Uzuanaya's whole body. But Fusako Uzuanaya did not lose consciousness like Tanjiro. His extremely tenacious vitality allowed him to withstand the lightning of the angry ghost and overcome the paralysis of the lightning after a few seconds. It's that bastard with the cane. The intervention of the angry ghost made Fusako Uzuanaya very angry. The angry Fusako Uzuanaya suddenly turned around and took out the musket, aimed at the angry ghost, and then pulled the trigger. The angry ghost immediately stretched out his hand to block the ammunition fired by the musket, but the hand was immediately broken by the ammunition of the musket. Obviously AI attacked the fatal parts. Why was this guy not affected at all, but became even more powerful? The angry ghost, whose arm was broken by the musket, said angrily in his heart with some confusion. While angry ghost was using his attack to contain Fusako Jinmiya, sorrowful ghost also turned around and swung his spear, which hit Fusako Jinmiya behind him. Fusako Jinmiya was immediately hit by the spear and flew sideways, smashing the wooden door on the side of the room. The movement on Fusako Jinmiya's side made Happy Ghost, who was playing against Nezuko, turn his head. Why does that guy seem more interesting? It's so boring to play with you. Happy Ghost said to Nezuko, losing interest in her. After saying that, Happy Ghost suddenly kicked Nezuko's chest hard, and Nezuko's chest was immediately pierced by Happy Ghost, and Happy Ghost's foot had already pierced through Nezuko's back. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.